Two major issues which are at the moment threatening global peace: the proliferation of nuclear arms by some nations and the war in Ukraine are the major issues on the front burner for our discussion today on World Now. Hello and thank you for joining us on World Now. I am Olamide Adeyemi. Now, 10 years after the lifting of sweeping UN economic and military sanctions imposed on Iran over its nuclear program in an international landmark deal, the sanctions have again been reimposed. The new measures took effect as the three European partners to the deal, the United Kingdom, France, and Germany, activated the so-called snapback mechanism, accusing Iran of continued nuclear escalation and a lack of cooperation. After Israel and the U.S. bombed several of its nuclear sites and military bases in June, Iran suspended the inspections of its nuclear facilities, which is a legal obligation under the terms of the deal reached in 2015. The Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian maintained last week that the country had no intention of developing nuclear weapons. This joint comprehensive plan of action places limits on Iran's nuclear installations, its stockpiles of enriched uranium, and the amount of research and development it can undertake on nuclear weaponry. The agreement also aims to allowing Iran develop its nuclear power infrastructure without moving into making nuclear weapons. And to discuss the heat emanating from these sanctions reimposed on Iran, I'm joined by global affairs analyst Kach Ononuju. It's good to have you join us at this time. It's been 10 years after these sanctions were first lifted on Iran. They now face a reimposition of these sanctions. Do you see the sanctions as genuinely effective in changing Iran's nuclear behavior, or they mainly punish ordinary citizens?
Well, it depends on what you want the sanctions to do. The sanctions have been undermined by the unilateral action of President Trump during the first Trump era. That unilateral action is what allowed Iran to actually cease being under monitoring. Well, the IAEA has said recently that it believes Iran to be in compliance, and I believe that is so. The IAEA has put its quarterly report to say Iran is trustworthy. The problems we've had come from the Americans, who unilaterally will cancel all agreements, and then now Trump says he's back to it. And that's the reasons why Iran has had these long gaps in lack of trust of whether it is doing what it's doing. But for this to come on now, this tells you after US and Israel did bomb the facilities, it tells you Iran seems to still be going steady and going strong. And the US and Israel didn't feel that they destroyed the sites. And that's why they are now making their case about stricter compliance to inspections.
And although Iran has, made its case, denying any production of any nuclear weapon at this time, how effective would you say sanctions are really as a tool of deterrence in preventing Iran if they were to actually produce or advance its nuclear program, considering their past and present impact?
Iran has stated publicly its intentions are simply for research to increase availability of knowledge within its defense sector, and that has not been proven to be wrong. The IAEA has found that despite long-standing accusations, Iran has not moved on into the offensive weapons manufacturing capability. Yes, we have seen their drone technology. That means they have delivery systems. But nobody has yet accused Iran since the crisis started, leading up to Mr. Trump's unilateral action in canceling inspections. And now that we seem to be back to something similar to cooperation alongside the inspection regime. No one has yet found Iran guilty. So it will be preposterous for us to be thinking, wouldn't it be okay for us to interrogate? We have interrogated for a very long time. We have also looked at Iran and waited upon them to see if they will make mistakes. If they intended to manufacture offensive nuclear weapons, I'm sure we will have seen that since. So I believe it is time we give them the benefit of the doubt based on their previous behavior of compliance and also keeping to their words of not jumping to the offensive nuclear capabilities in our category. They have kept their word, so take them at their words. There are no two ways about this.
And it's concerning that these sanctions are coming, especially when, Iran has not been found guilty of going into the offensive. Let's look at the implication of these sanctions. How might these reimposed sanctions really reshape Iran's domestic politics? Is it likely to strengthen hardliners by fueling anti-Western sentiment or weaken the regime in place now?
If the regime could be weakened, it will get weakened from its loss of face that resulted from the Israeli and American combined bombings. That does not happen because for the bombings to be effective, you do need boots on the ground. And since there are no boots on the ground, all those were just acrobatics for local Israeli consumption. We know the Iranians have planned attacks and retributions like this long before now. That's why those centrifuges, the ones that are manufactured, they are not kept in the place where the Americans and Israelis bombed. They are ferried to safer places and kept there. So you cannot find the roads where they are bombing. And that's the trick. Iran has beaten all of them to this by preemptively taking those centrifuges to safe places. And now that they understand, of course, you're not seeing more reactions based on frustrations. The Israelis and Americans are frustrated. They have not been able to achieve their targets that drove them to the attack against the facilities by Iran, as we have seen by the drones that we've seen in Ukraine's theater of operation. Iran has done very well in its delivery capabilities. The drones go far. The drones work very well. So what we're not afraid of is the weapons themselves. If the weapons were not harmed at the time of those bombing, and that still means that America and Israel have a very good cause to be very worried, because what they thought they would touch has been removed by the Iranians. And what the bombings are doing seem not to be having any effect. That's why you're seeing this kind of agitation right now by Israel and the United States. It is as a consequence of their frustration of not having met their objectives that drove them towards the bombing of the Iranian facilities some months ago.
So, Kachi, let's consider the fact that there is no smoke without fire. Although we've seen Iran's president insisting that the country really has no intention of, developing weapons. But we've seen past cases like South Africa, which also dismantled its program, and North Korea, which also denied intentions until they decided to test the bomb. How believable is the Iran government saying that it does not have any plan, any intention in place to make a weapon?
Well, it's words. That's what we do in international diplomacy. They will speak, and you have not been able to catch them red-handed. What if what they wanted to do was to simply master the construct capability? When they master the construct capability and they decide not to build it, but they know how to build it, and the models for building it is all over the place, and now that you can print anything, the protocols that could lead to, 2-minute activation of the printing capabilities for those weapons or the manufacturing capabilities for those weapons, if those protocols are mastered, in this case by Iran, and then they could keep several things, several places without bringing them together for you to now call that a weapon. That is a plus. Nations could seek to discover. So you take what Iran is doing as a process of discovery. So when they discover, they keep. They know where everything is, but they're keeping it and they're watching you. Should you tomorrow say you have trouble with them and you start a war with them, they have the capacity to start manufacturing very quickly because they do have know-how. Secondly, you also have a fellow Sunni sympathizer and friend on the border of Iran in Pakistan. Pakistan is nuclear capable. That is as a consequence of their long-standing wars with India. India also is nuclear capable. Pakistan is nuclear capable. And Pakistan could also be a place you point to as where they might have had those rods that were beneficiated in Iran taking to. And you can't just touch Pakistan like that. So I don't think trying this far for deterrence will stop Iran from acquiring the capabilities for offensive nuclear weapons production. What we seek is peace, peace, long-term holistic peace within that region. And that's why it is important that Israel understand the frustration that has led everybody into getting the Eurozone into declare for recognition of the state of Palestine. So they have to do things quickly in moving towards peace. The strategy of staying at violent preparation mode, I think that's not sustainable.
All right.
Israel has to settle once and for all to make peace. And that peace will be for a two-state solution. And that way we can douse the tension there and kill this crisis once and for all. Iran is not an easy target that Israel can just wish away or take
Dr.
away.
Kurtz, we will see whether this will, push Iran towards negotiations. There are concerns that it may also push, Iran further towards secrecy and defiance following some of the sanctions that have been put in place. But that's a fine place to leave the conversation for now. We'll check out what is happening much later. Global Affairs Analyst Catch Ononuju, thank you for talking to us at this time.